Do it.
Listen to my podcast about sports, about sports, about sports.
Howdy, Ags. From the tailgate home of Aggie football, this is Coach and the delivery man, C Money. What's
What's
up?
up, buddy?
Hey, man. Man, is it getting exciting around here. We're getting close to football starting. Camp
Mm-hmm.
opens up this coming week. The guys show up, start actually practicing for football. Football, baby. How about that, Corey?
Oh man, it's exciting. It's all. I mean, I'm listening to the radio, watching ESPN, people talking about it. Love it.
Hey, on ESPN, they're going through NFL camps. They've already started out there in the pro level. You know, all these college camps start up this coming week, man. They're gonna get those kids out there. We'll start hearing some news about who's doing what, different things. I love this time of year. It just gets my blood just boiling up hot, ready to go watch some football, man.
I'm with you.
All right, so a couple of things we got to take care of here. Today's episode brought to you by Corey. What do you think?
I'm gonna say Frida Homes.
Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details you care about, contact Frida Homes. Visit them on Instagram at frida.homes or give Justin a call, 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everyone loves their
Loves
Frida
the
Homes.
Frida Homes.
Love it, love it, love it. Email us at agstailgate@gmail.com if you got comments, questions, you want to provide us with some ideas for show topics, different things to talk about, players that we need to focus in on, whatever it may be. Find us on YouTube, subscribe. Comment on YouTube. We respond to those comments. We share those comments. They're always here on the show. Don't leave us hanging, baby. Give us some commentary.
Right.
Corey, just
I
quick
like to hear it.
notes. Quick note on recruiting. This weekend, the always famous barbecue going on at A&M. Tons and tons
Right.
of talent will be on campus for the 24 class, for the 25 class. You know, so those guys are all showing up to A&M, to College Station this weekend. Huge recruiting weekend. I can't say how much I think that they're going to miss Terry Price this weekend. You know, he was
Oh yeah, it's right here.
he was the cook, man. You know,
Oh yeah, can't miss
uh,
the cook. You can't. Hard to have a barbecue without the cook.
that's right. I just love the dudes. Anyway, we'll see what effects that has. Either way, the big huge weekend in recruiting. It matters, but let me tell you what's going to matter a lot more is the 12 weeks in which this team plays football over the season. Because if they get 17 five-star commits this weekend and then go 5-7 again, they're all going to leave. So don't worry about it. Okay.
That's true. That's very true.
Corey, last week, obviously, all A&M all the time. Last week, we're always all A&M. Today, we're actually going SEC. We're going to have a couple of moments here where we talk about SEC Media Days, non-Aggie sort of news and notes that came out through that time period. And then
Yeah.
we're going to go SEC East, over under win totals. I'm going to get your take on which way you would go on the over and under. I'm going to give you my take. We're going to see where these bets end up. And you know, I think there's a lot of really good bets here. You know, you the money. We'll see where you
Yeah,
come out
yeah,
on
yeah.
this.
Really good bets. I like that.
Let's start off with the SEC Media Days and some of the commentary that came out of SEC Media Days. First, one of the things that I thought was incredibly interesting for Kentucky, head coach Stoops, really propping up their transfer quarterback Leary. All right, and I want to remind everybody that they just lost a second round draft pick in Levis to the NFL, a guy that a lot of people thought was a first round type talent. What are your thoughts on this?
I liked Will Levis. I thought I was impressed with him watching him play. Not so much last year, but the year before that. I thought he was, he's more athletic than what people gave him credit for. The guy could run. He had a good arm. and he didn't have the most talent in the world there at Kentucky. I mean, not a lot of support around him. He did a lot of stuff by himself. I mean, I watched him play that Georgia game. They were pretty competitive the first half 2 years ago, but after that, it fell apart. Last year wasn't his best year, but Leary, I don't have a lot of tape on Leary. All I have is what I've read about him. He was good at NC State, can't stay healthy. And in a league like the SEC, that's a big thing because they know that he can't stay healthy. They're going to hit him. They're going to get after him.
And let's be honest here. I mean, we know the ACC. That's not playing SEC football, right? Those guys over there,
Right.
Sling it. There's all kinds of offense. There's no defense. They're just
No defense.
throwing the ball all over the place. So he's going to have to make an adjustment there. I will tell you this: I think he does have a good surrounding cast around him at Kentucky. We're going to get more into that as we go specifically into Kentucky today and their win totals.
But you know what, Stoops? If Larry gets hurt, Stoops isn't afraid to put a wide receiver in at quarterback and play him the whole year.
He's going to do what he has to. Hey, look,
Exactly.
talking quarterbacks.
He's done it before.
Just down the street, Georgia. Kirby Smart says he's not going to name a starting quarterback quite yet. That Beck has not done. Beck has not done enough to earn that spot yet. And so he's giving Vandergriff and Stockton the opportunity to compete here in the fall as they come in. What do you think?
I'll make a bet with you right now that it's Beck. You place the number, we'll put the wager down, and it's in.
If you give me 20-1 odds.
Why would I give you 20-1? Why would I give you 20-1?
Because Beck's going to win the starting job. That's why.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
All this talk during media days, I had, this is a story that I've been hearing from media all over the place. National media, SEC media, Georgia media. Georgia's going to have the best O-line in the SEC, maybe the best in the country. I want to remind you they lost 3 of their offensive linemen to the NFL. Thoughts?
It doesn't matter. They've been recruiting. They have great coaching. And the guys behind them, it showed last year on their defense. They lost, I don't know how many guys the year before to the NFL draft, and last year's defense was amazing. Look, it doesn't matter. I mean, O-line's the same way.
I'll say this. Look,
they set themselves up for success.
Defensively, Kirby Smart's always going to have a unit up there. It may not be the best every year, but it's going to be in the top 10. They're going to be up there. Mm-hmm. Look, offensively, they changed offensive coordinators. I think this can have an effect on the O-line. I do believe that there's a chance that O-line takes a step back. I will also say this. I didn't think that their O-line was overly dominant, man. Their system was so good that they were always in good position. I'm not sold on them being the best in the country. But listen, they're going to be up there. They're, like you said, they've got talent. They got talent around the offensive line, and they got talented offensive linemen. It's hard to say that they're not going to be one of the top in the country.
And you look at the SEC East. I mean, I'm not trying to kick the SEC East, but it's not like the West. I mean, there's some decent talent. Tennessee's pretty good. I'm not sure about Tennessee's defense.
Yeah.
Florida's way down.
Look, we're going to go into that.
Oh, I'm just saying. But their offensive line doesn't have to be that great against those teams, against who they're going to play.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, their offensive line, until they play somebody like Alabama, LSU, A&M, they're not going to be, we're playing those kind of teams every week. They're playing Vandy. They're playing Missouri.
I think this year is probably the biggest discrepancy between the East and the West as far as the talent, especially in the middle, right? And at the bottom, right? The bottom.
Yeah, you put the worst team in the West and the East, and they're a top 3 team. That's my call.
The other guy getting huge hype for it, Georgia's McConkey, the wide receiver, man. Everybody's hyping him as an all-SEC guy, 1,000 yards. That dude is an average wide receiver playing on a team that just gets him wide open all the time.
Oh, yeah, he's a burner. Their best player is Bowers by far, the tight end. That kid's just
the running game
amazing.
Absolutely create all the space that McConkey gets. I mean, every ball that they threw to him, he was wide open. There wasn't anybody even close to him.
I mean, they run a sweep play with Bowers as the back. I mean, it's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. Yeah.
Hey,
you don't see that now.
Going a year ahead of time now with the addition of UT and Oklahoma, which everybody's excited about.
UT, who's that? Tennessee?
Exactly.
You talking about Tennessee?
Exactly. Heupel's already talking a little bit of shit. There's only one UT in this conference. That's what he says. There's only one UT.
University of Tennessee, baby.
University of Tennessee. So TU, horns down. See you later.
Don't say that out too loud, man. You might get fined.
I might.
Horns down.
I'd get fined every day. The other thing that the other thing that Heupel was real, adamant about. Joe Milton's going to be the best quarterback in the SEC. What do you think?
He has the potential to be in that offense that Heupel, and he'll give him chances to be the best quarterback. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
He'll give him the opportunity to be the best, but will he be the best? No.
Okay. On that note, you know who they did vote to be the first team All SEC quarterback? Jaden Daniels for LSU. What's your thoughts on that?
I watched him play last year. I wasn't that impressed. I watched him play when he was at Arizona, I think, or Arizona State. I can't remember which one he came from. But he's athletic. He's got a decent arm, but he's scary with that ball. He doesn't know where it's going to go sometimes when he lets it go.
Yeah, he may not be the best quarterback on his own team. Nussmeier, the backup, who everybody
Sure.
assumes is the backup, actually played pretty well last year. I don't see where Jaden Daniels gets the All SEC nod, but whatever. I mean, I guess there was a lot of people there that had a chance to compete for that, and whatever. The other thing, and this I actually found pretty interesting.
I mean, the quarterback.
Two of the defensive tackles, the two defensive tackles for LSU on the SEC first team, basically they're talking about them being the best tackle tandem in the SEC. Do you remember that? Do you remember that from that team last year?
No, not at all. All I remember is what's his name? The guy's supposed to come to A&M, play
Perkins.
linebacker. So, yeah, that's the only thing I remember is that guy getting pressure anytime he wanted to.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly where that sort of narrative is coming from, but there you go. Here's the other narrative.
I got about 5 defensive tackles at A&M I put up against either one of those two.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking the exact same thing.
And I'm not trying to say that just because I'm an Aggie fan, but I mean, damn, Walter Nolan, Jackson, Denlow,
Brunlow Dindy.
Yeah, Brunlow Dindy. I mean, it goes on and on. I mean, you got what's his name, Stewart.
Shamar Turner. Shamar Turner.
That's what I meant.
Inside and out. That's not including the freshman Hicks that's coming in this year. That's going to be another stud to throw into the mix, right?
That was just a dumb statement made.
Stupid
by them.
All right, how about the narrative that the Saban era is starting to come to an end? He's on the downhill. What do you think?
Well, Georgia's had their number the last couple of years, right? They won 2 national championships. LSU won the West last year. I mean, this kind of stuff doesn't happen. I mean, if it happens again this year, then it's gonna start looking pretty bad for old Nick.
They lost 2 games by, I believe, less than a touchdown each. I mean, like a total of 7 points or something like so.
But they won like 3 games by. They won like 3 games by less than a touchdown, also.
Sure, but we just talked about the fact that the SEC is, and especially the West, is got a lot of talent, right? And there's a lot of teams that are competitive. So
they barely beat the Aggies last year. The Aggies lost to App State. I don't care who the quarterback was for Alabama.
We know the talent at A&M. Let's not kid ourselves. Here's the thing that they did have their backup quarterback. Now their backup quarterback's probably their starter this year, so we'll see. I'll tell you this. I think Bama's better this year than they were. They're better because of the coordinators. I didn't think a lot about Bill O'Brien. I thought that guy was a horrible play caller. And honestly, their defense coordinator, who's now at Ole Miss, is a guy that was overly complicated when the fact is that he had the best players. The same thing we talk about with Durkin, right? Don't get so complicated that all your guys are doing is thinking, because you've got the best defensive players on the field. Just let them go play, right? I think they're going to get back to that with Kevin Steele, who has been there at Alabama, who's done it before with Nick Saban. I think that defense is going to take a huge step forward this year. And offensively, I believe that they're going to start to pound the rock. We'll talk more about Alabama, but that's my thought process.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think you're going to see old school Alabama come back,
There's a lot of hype behind Auburn. And next week we'll do the SEC West as far as the over-unders on all that. But man, SEC Media Days, man, Auburn hype. Obviously, new coach. People love that dude. Like his X's and O's and everything else. I understand that side of it, what he's done with offenses in the past at Liberty and at Ole Miss, right? I mean, the dude's done some things. I've also seen this Auburn roster, and they are far from competing. You know, are they an 8-win team? Do you think they're an 8-win team?
8 wins? No, maybe in 2 or 3 years combined. I don't see 8 wins. I mean, not this year.
Not this year. Not this year.
I mean, I got to see their talent. I got to see who they have. Who's their quarterback?
Peyton Thorne, transfer from Michigan State of all places. Were they good?
No. What happened to that quarterback they had last year? That was a freshman that was pretty good. That beat
Robbie Ashford's still there.
He was athletic. He was decent.
Yeah, he's still there. Your boy Freeze does not like him because apparently he can't hit open receivers. That's what I'm told.
Let's see those receivers get open. I don't even know who the receivers are.
Yeah, that's a good. Here's the projected finish by the media in the East: Georgia, Tennessee, South Carolina, Kentucky, Florida, and Missouri. South Carolina at number 3. How do you feel about that?
Did you say Vandy? I didn't hear you say Vandy.
Vandy's last. Yeah, we knew that.
Oh.
Everybody knew that.
I don't know.
Oh, you're saying Vandy won't finish last? I like it. Who are you?
I'm not sure that.
Who are you putting in that spot?
In last in the East?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vandy's gonna be right there fighting. I think Missouri and maybe Florida. Florida, I think, will struggle.
I do think those 3 teams are likely to be the 3 at the bottom. In what order? Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any chance South Carolina's better than Kentucky, by the way. I'm not sure Tennessee's better than Kentucky. We'll get more into that here in a minute.
Yeah, I'm hearing a bandwagon thing here, jumping on
it. We may be jumping on a bandwagon, you're right.
Yeah.
In the West, they had Alabama, LSU, A&M, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Auburn, and State.
I don't know. I mean, that's, like I said, a toss-up. I mean, if A&M plays like they did last year, they could be in the cellar. If A&M plays like we expect them to, they could be running for first. Mississippi State, new coach, same quarterback though. Depends on what they implement.
I'd have State above Auburn, actually.
I think so too. I think State above Auburn. Now, if you're supposed to finish second to last or last in the West, how are you going to win 8 games?
This is what I will tell you is good point. This is the other thing that I will tell you is this year is probably the one year where you could jumble these up and toss them up in the air and then figure out where they land, and it could happen. I mean, Alabama's not going to be worse than 3rd, right? I mean,
I don't think so.
But LSU could be 4th. I mean,
I think LSU snuck up on people last year. I mean, they had Jaden Daniels, a bunch of transfers. They had some lucky wins, I think, and then they had the bad loss to A&M. I mean, which was that the real LSU team, or was the same LSU team got their ass kicked by Georgia? I mean, which LSU team was real? And once people got some paperwork on it.
I think A&M could be worse to first, right? They could be anywhere at the top or at the bottom or anywhere in between.
I mean, LSU won the West last year. A&M beat the shit out of them.
Yeah.
I mean, what you tell me? Does that make any sense at all? No. A&M has a talent to beat any team on their schedule. They also have the coaching to lose to any team on that schedule.
And we'll see if that's changed.
Yeah.
And with the everybody would you be surprised if Arkansas ended up 2nd? If Ole Miss ended up 2nd? I
would. I'd be surprised if Arkansas did, just because I like their quarterback, but I think there's a lot of holes in that team.
I'll say this. I think that offensive line, everybody's worried about the offensive line. That offensive line is going to be fine with Pittman.
I'm worried about their defense.
KJ Jefferson, I think, is as underrated a quarterback as you're going to see in the SEC in the last few years. And if he can stay healthy, I fully expect him to compete for a Heisman.
Oh, I think Arkansas is going to score a lot of points. I just don't know if they can stop anybody else from scoring points.
That's.
I think other teams' defenses will be so much better than their defense that they'll get more stops. And Arkansas, it's going to be shootouts. And they had that last year. They had the same problem last year. And they had that badass linebacker that got drafted in the 1st or 2nd round. He's not there anymore.
They lost both of their linebackers.
Either way.
But to your point earlier, they almost beat Alabama.
That's what I'm saying.
You know,
I mean, they're I think they're going to score a lot of points.
I think it's awesome because it's one of these years where people just don't know, right? Anything could happen.
Well, I mean, it's obvious we knew last year. I mean, we called it. We said A&M was going to only win 5 games. We said that at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that sounds
Kidding.
like us.
I'm kidding. We didn't know shit. We don't know shit, people. We're just talking. We're just
Speaking of don't know shit,
pointing our opinions.
speaking of no shit,
Mr. Guarantee on the other side of this line.
The
Yeah.
SEC media voted for the All SEC teams. No Aggies in the first or second team All SEC offense.
I mean, that's disappointing. I mean, talent wise, we definitely have the talent to be first team or second team. That's where your coaching came back. That's why these players, if we have another shitty season, they're going to start leaving to go to other pastures where their talents are getting respected. Does that make sense?
But
They're going to go somewhere else.
Here's the problem, right? You go look at All SEC, and players from Bama, LSU, and Georgia made up 16 of the 23 first two teams in offense. 16 of 23. Forget about it. These guys have no idea. They definitely have no idea about offensive line. All they do with offensive line is pick the guys the names that they know from Georgia, Alabama, and LSU, and those guys are the first and second team offensive linemen. Period. They want to go.
Who's the second? Who's the second best tight end in the SEC? I know Bowers is the number one. Who's the second best? I'll put Green up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our wide receivers, I'll put our wide receivers up. I mean, I don't even know who the top wide receivers are in the SEC this year.
I want to say Trey Knox. Trey Knox, who just transferred, is a guy that's being considered as one of the top tight ends over there.
Where's Trey Knox at?
Is it South Carolina or is it where did he transfer to? Knox to South Carolina or to Kentucky?
Who is Trey Knox? Is he from Oklahoma?
He came from Arkansas, right?
Okay, I'm just trying to remember. I can't remember. I can remember that Oklahoma had a kid that was a tight end that transferred to South Carolina, but I think he transferred back to Oklahoma, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean,
there's so much of that shit going on.
Yeah, there's so many guys moving, but he's a guy that got a bunch of run there in the All SEC thing. At the end of the day, I think my point is that these media guys have absolutely no clue because all they do is take the big teams and then just vote all their guys in. McConkey was a first team All SEC wide receiver. That dude is not even going to have 1,000 yards. The dude is not even the best receiver on his own team, and yet he's a first team wide receiver. Did he have some big plays last year? Sure, he did, but he was wide open.
He's got some speed. That's about it. But he's not big. I mean, he doesn't have the best. I mean, I don't know about his hands. I'm not sure. But I don't know.
There's a ton of guys out there that you can talk about in this, in that sense. I mean, it just shows you they know very little, right? They know very little. Once again, the teams that are constantly covered all over the planet, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, those are the names they know. On defense, by the way, 11 out of 11 LSU, Bama, Georgia in the first team. 11 of 11 first team defenders, LSU, Alabama, Georgia. Think about that.
Well, that's disappointing. I can't believe McKinley Jackson didn't get any credit for being. He's going to be the defensive player of the year in the SEC.
McKinley Jackson, second team. He was voted second team defender. Damani Richardson was a second team guy. I'm not sure Damani Richardson is the best damn safety in his own team.
I was about to say, what is that? What are they watching? They saw him They saw him pick up a fumble and run it back for a touchdown?
No respect for a guy like Chappelle in the secondary, who's our best secondary player, hands down. Yeah. It's not even close.
Yeah.
So, look, whatever. Who gives a crap about being preseason All SEC? Nobody really cares. Nobody will ever remember that. But it does tell you somewhat that these guys that they are considered the experts in the media and all that stuff, they know very little. Let's not say absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean,
they know very little.
Dude, they just have to go out and win. If they would have had a better record last year, that more of these guys would have been. I mean, you would have been talking Stewart at wide receiver as a first or second team wide receiver. Anias, I can't believe he's not on the list somewhere. And then Muhammad.
Third team, which are kind of the guy, Anias.
Stewart on there either at all?
No.
No Moose?
No.
No Green? Did Green make it a tight end?
No.
Oh, you got to be shitting me. That's ridiculous.
No,
I know they didn't have any of our offensive linemen up there. They
no,
couldn't have. That's
no, no. I
I didn't
take
know
that
if they
back.
put
I
Robinson
take
or
that back.
Father.
Robinson 13.
What did they watch last year?
I have no idea.
Where are they coming up with this? That's
But
ridiculous.
but you're absolutely right. If they would have had anybody, it'd have been Foster and Robinson, and they, those two guys were probably some of the worst performers on our offensive line.
Zune didn't get any credit either. I mean, I like that kid at left tackle, but he was hurt most of the season, if not all year.
Yeah,
Um,
they've been talking that one up quite a bit on your boys over there at Texas Ags have been talking that one up a little bit.
and we only had 2 players on our defense on first, second, or third team.
I can't remember third team. Third team is sort of everybody that kind of receive votes gets kind of thrown on there. It's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. So I don't really remember the third team on defense actually.
I got you. I guess we need to get into the rest of this topic, man. It's going to be a long discussion.
All right, here we go. Let's tear it up. SEC East over under win totals. Now, I've got it on this page number one as an alphabetical order. But do you want to go maybe reverse alphabetical order? I think some of the teams at the bottom we can cover pretty quickly.
No, you just go ahead. Just do it however you want to do it. I don't give a shit because I'm going to just shoot from the hip like I always do.
All right, here we go. Alphabetical order. We're going to start with the East today. Next week we'll do the West. A&M will be the week after, all on its own. Florida, 5.5 wins. Last year they were 6-7. They lost to Vandy. However, they did beat the Aggies. That's the most embarrassing thing I've ever said, I think.
That's pretty bad.
Look, that was Billy Napier's first year. Obviously a struggle. He's already replaced his offensive coordinator. I'm not sure that offensive coordinator is going to be any better. They were 57th in scoring. They were 87th defensively. And that defensive number was helped out by a ton of turnovers. A lot of turnovers on the season. Pretty high as far as that ranking goes. Clearly they lost Anthony Richardson to the draft that we talked about earlier. They also lost Osiris Torrance, one of their another highly drafted offensive lineman, a linebacker, moved to Temple, and some different other guys.
Their defense got shredded by the transfers, huh?
Yes, they did. They bring in Graham Mertz from Wisconsin, to be the quarterback. I'm not sure that that's a great situation. They some transfer offensive linemen, some transfers on defense, in a lot of movement in the portal. I don't know, man. People are sort of. I don't think anybody's like real high on Florida, but some people definitely can believe that an over of 5.5. I'm going under, and I'm going under hard.
What did you say? 5.5?
Yes.
What's their schedule? Let's go through tell me their schedule real fast.
All right, so take a look at this one. Utah to start off the season, I think that's a loss.
Loss.
McNeese, okay, you got to win. Tennessee.
That count as a win? Does that count as a win?
Yes, counts as a win.
I didn't know if they were D2.
Doesn't matter. Counts as a win. Tennessee,
gotcha.
Loss, right? Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte probably a win. Okay, we got 2.
2-2.
Kentucky, loss. How about Vandy?
Okay, 2-3.
Are you going to give them a Vandy win?
They lost to Vandy last year. Why would I give them a win there?
That's a toss-up at best, right?
They lost more talent than last year. Vandy has all their guys back pretty much. I think I'm gonna slide the Vandy way.
Oh, I like it. How about South Carolina?
Well, I mean, South Carolina's better than Vandy, and I think South Carolina's gonna beat Florida then.
Yep, that's a loss. Georgia, we don't even have to talk about that. Arkansas, that's a loss. LSU, loss. But Missouri.
I think Missouri's gonna be. I think they're gonna suck. I think that might be a win. It depends on where it's at.
So let's say 2 wins and 2 toss-ups. Florida State to finish the season. Florida State's going to whoop them.
Oh, yeah. Florida State's fucking good.
2
wins, I don't see 5.5 wins.
Where are they getting
that's going to be tough.
They're 2 wins short of that, right?
It's a shame they don't play the Aggies this year.
That's true. Of course, most people were saying, I wish we would have played Florida last year and see how that turned out. Look,
yeah, no shit.
Offensively, this team is going to be very highly dependent on the run game, right? It's going to be all about the run game. I do think that they have some good tailbacks. I don't know what's going to happen with this offensive line. They're a bunch of pieces in, but they lost some highly drafted guys. That going to the NFL. I'm not sure that it's going to get better. I don't know that it can get much worse. Their two running backs are really good, but they don't have any
Mm-hmm.
weapons on the outside either. They don't have any weapons on the outside. So they're talking about the quarterback. Well, the quarterback doesn't have anybody to throw to, number one, right?
Well, the thing about Florida, they've always have talent. It's just,
It's not there right
I
now.
guess it's the coaching, huh?
They don't have the same level of talent, especially at the athlete positions on the outside and at the cornerback on the back end of their defense. They don't have that same level of talent that they're used to having.
I bet they got the speed out there. Just, I don't think Mertz. He doesn't do it for me at all.
No, no.
That doesn't push the needle at all. I'm just like, no, that guy. Mm-mm. Yeah, I mean, I think the under 5.5. That's where I'll go.
Yeah, and defensively they struggled stopping folks on third down. They,
Mm-hmm.
they so once again, I don't know that they're going to have these huge improvements defensively. They weren't good against the pass or the run last year. I'm just wondering exactly what people are seeing. I expect this team to be in the running for the worst team in the SEC, much less the SEC West. Under.
Copy that.
Georgia, 11.5. 15-0 last year. Look, they beat Oregon in the opening week by 46 points. 46 points. Oregon is a team that was in the running to win the Pac-12. Now, we know it's the Pac-12, whatever. They were a good team last year by the time it was all said and done. Now, that was the first game for Oregon with Lanning and all that stuff. They got their butts handed to them in that game.
Yep.
Georgia did have a couple of hiccups, right? 26-22 against Mizzou. We watched that game. That that was close.
Pissed me off. Lost money on that one.
Yes, we did. Tennessee, that game was not really close, but they had some opportunities to make it close. They had to kick some field goals in early on and things like that.
Right.
Kentucky, a team that had a down year, I mean, they held them to 16 points. Held Georgia to 16 points, 16-6 in that game. That's impressive. Yeah. That's impressive, by the way.
Yeah, it's a quarterback play.
And then they should have lost to Ohio State in the semis, by the way, right? They should have lost to Ohio State.
Yeah, it was lucky.
I think there's no question Kirby Smart's the best coach in the country. I believe that. I do have a problem with Georgia because they're replacing Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, with Mike Bobo. Mike Bobo, who's been a guy that's been around for a long time, he's been the offensive coordinator at Georgia previously and had a good stint. That's where he gets all his sort of respect and everybody thinks he's great. But since that stint at Georgia with incredibly high level of talent, which he has now, by the way, he was horrible at Colorado State as the head coach. He was bad at South Carolina as the offensive coordinator. He was horrible at Auburn as the offensive coordinator. He hasn't had a good stop since he was there at Georgia. I'm just saying that's a guy that has not been a good play caller lately. And I'm not sure that it doesn't hurt them tremendously going from Monken, who me and you saw last year was an absolute ace when it came to getting guys open and making plays, compared to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I hear you. Where did Monken go? I don't even know where he went. I can't remember.
NFL. He's going to be he's the offensive coordinator for the Ravens now.
Huh. I might have to fantasy draft some of those guys then.
Show
all right. So what are you thinking? I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I mean, I don't think their 11.5 wins is hard to do. I think they'll lose a game somewhere, but I'm not sure to who.
Yeah, this is the tough part, right? Is who are they going to lose to? And I mean, UT Martin.
They don't play any. They don't play LSU, Alabama, or A&M out of the West. They don't play Alabama, A&M, or LSU out of the West.
Yeah, they play Auburn and Ole Miss. And so here's what I'm going to say. And I think, I don't know who they lose to. It's a tough deal. Kentucky. The only problem is they get Kentucky at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's always a deal.
At Tennessee.
Ole Miss. They get Ole Miss at home.
Mm-hmm.
At Tennessee. And that little stretch there where they go Mizzou, Ole Miss, Tennessee, maybe in there that's where their loss comes in. I will tell you this. They're going to lose a game. I'm not sure
I think so too.
Lose to. They're going to lose a game. There's going to be a game in here where it is tight at the end of this game. You got a brand new quarterback that hasn't felt the pressure. He doesn't exactly, have the mobility and all the things that Bennett did. Bennett underrated, if you ask me, all throughout the country. That dude was a baller last year. They're going to lose a game.
They're only playing 3 road games at Auburn, at Vandy, at Tennessee. Is that what I'm seeing? Is that right?
That could be true.
Man, they might go undefeated. Fuck, I hate to say that, but they might. I hate to say it.
There's no. There's at least 4 home games. Well, the Florida and Jacksonville is their 4th home road game, right? Playing Florida.
Yeah. But you don't know if that's. I mean, that's like a neutral site, supposedly.
It's neutral site, but that's technically their 4th road game. So
okay.
I don't know, man. I'm telling you, this defense is going to take a step back from first in the country. From first, I'm not saying.
I thought they were 5th. Were they 1st or 5th?
You know what? A lot of people they were 5th offensively and 5th defensively, but the fact is that they're probably the best defense in the country.
Probably. I don't know.
Who knows?
No. Well, we'll see. I don't know.
I think they're taking a step back on both offense and defense.
You taking the under? Are you taking the under?
I'm taking the under.
I'll take the over. I think they'll win. I think they'll go undefeated because that schedule sucks.
The only thing that's stopping
Ole Miss might scare them, but Ole Miss, if they have Ole Miss at home, I don't see them losing at home to Ole Miss.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I got a feeling somebody's gonna sneak up on them. Somebody's gonna get them, and it's gonna be one of those games that's probably more of a high scoring game than you expect with Georgia. And I think they're gonna lose a game 38-33. That's what I think. I wouldn't go hard under, but I am going to go under. Kentucky 6.5, and I think you know where I'm leaning on this one. They were 7-6 last year, a year that everybody talked about how bad they were. They were 7-6 last year, 112th in offense. That's how bad Levis was last year. 112th in offense. They were 13th.
Wait,
in the
just
country.
a real quick question: if they're 112th in offense, what was A&M?
107. No, I'm kidding. A&M was middle of the
they
pack.
were worse than that, right? A&M was worse than that.
101st, I think. 13th in defense, dude. And that's in spite of the fact that their offense was that bad. They were still that good defensively. If their offense would have been decent, that would have been the number 1 ranked defense in the country, or number 2, number 3, somewhere up there, right? They were 13th with a horrible offense. Levis, like I said, was terrible. 10 interceptions last year. What they do, they fired their offensive coordinator. Smart move. Brought back Liam Cohen, who was the guy that was there the year before when Levis was really good. They brought in, obviously, their new quarterback. So they feel good about that. But lots of movement in the portal. Lots of guys in and out. They only have 2 freshmen in their entire 2 deep. Lots of experience. What are your thoughts here, buddy?
Well, like I said, I mean, I look at the schedule, and what I see on the schedule, 1, 2, I mean, all the cupcakes at the beginning. Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, W's. Vandy, W.
Florida.
We said Florida sucks. W.
Georgia.
I'm gonna say it's a loss. I mean, I don't think they're on the same field with Georgia. Missouri a win. Tennessee Tech, I guess that is, or Tennessee.
No, that's Tennessee.
Oh, Tennessee. That's a toss up. Go either way. Mississippi State. They might lose that one. I think Mississippi State's going to be better than what people think. They probably lose to Bama. That's a pretty tough schedule, man.
You're going to say they're going to lose to Mississippi State?
I'm just saying they might.
Mississippi State with a new coach who's bringing a new offensive system and
same quarterback. You got a new quarterback coming into Kentucky. You got a new quarterback.
A quarterback that's now going to be taking snaps under center that hasn't ever taken snaps under center.
You're asking for my opinion. I'm giving it.
I am asking.
That's what I'm saying. I'm giving you the facts here. Mississippi State, I think the West is tougher than the East. I think a Kentucky team who we think might finish 2nd or 3rd in the East would probably finish, I don't know, 4th or 5th in the West right now. I don't think they're as good as Alabama. I don't think they're as good as LSU, A&M. And I think the Ole Misses, Mississippi States, and Auburns might find a way to beat them. Here's
what I'm going to tell you. These guys bring 4 senior offensive linemen, 1 non-senior, and he's been 3 years, right? This team is going to have that base to help them offensively. They're going to go from an offense that was 112th last year. They're going to be, at worst, middle of the pack. I'm telling you. They've got some good weapons on the outside. They don't really have a running back. We'll see what they do.
No, I think they'll
running
win
back
at least
position.
7 games. They'll go over 6.5.
They'll go over.
I don't know about how much. I mean, I'm not sure about the. I think they'll beat Louisville. I don't know about South Carolina. I know you're not high on them, but I mean, I'm not. I don't think they'll beat Bama, Tennessee. I'm not sure.
Are you worried about
But
that
the other.
defense at all? Are you worried they lost their top 2 quarterbacks, but the defense got? Are you worried about that defense, no matter the personnel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it because I think I'm worried about the offense getting off the field too fast. I mean, I know they had a 112th ranked offense last year, but we'll see what happens this year. I mean, their schedule's pretty tough, man. It's a tough schedule.
It is a tough schedule. You're right. I mean, Bama, Mississippi State, from the west side.
I mean, that's at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
That's at Mississippi State. I mean, that's what, at Georgia, at South Carolina, at Louisville. I mean, I think they'll beat Louisville. But moving on, I mean, what are you thinking? You're thinking over easy, right?
I'm thinking they're going to get, like, a bad year for – I think if they don't, like, hit on all cylinders, they're 8 wins. I think they're at 8 wins. That's the worst. That's the bottom, if you ask me.
All right, so we agree on that one.
Mizzou, 6.5.
Under.
So 67 last year, 86 on offense, 56 on defense. Everybody talked about how good that defense was last year. Everybody keeps saying that. They were 56th in the country. That's not great. That is not great.
And they played Georgia tough. That's what everybody's thinking. I don't understand why they played Georgia tough. I don't understand why Georgia did that.
It's one of those things you just don't show up sometimes. But they lost their best receiver to Georgia, by the way. So that's one of their best players out there. Brady Cook doesn't impress me as a quarterback. He's their guy, right? I mean, I guess the other guys may compete, whatever. Wide receiver room, maybe he's got some talent in it, but inexperienced. Nobody there's really done anything yet. I don't know what people see in this team that excites them about where Missouri's going. I'm listening to the SEC podcast. You listen? Have you heard those guys? SEC Mike and the Tennessee Homer.
I've heard of them, but I haven't listened to their podcast.
Tennessee Homer's huge on Missouri. Like, oh man, these guys are so great. I don't see it. I'm going under, and I'm not even sure that it's that close. Let's go through the schedule. South Dakota. Okay, that's a win.
Well, is South Dakota usually pretty good in D2? I can't remember if it's them or South Dakota State or who it is.
That's a good question, but I'm going to still give them the win on this, okay?
Okay.
Middle Tennessee, win, right? They beat Miami last year, didn't they?
Yeah.
Kansas State. You think Missouri beats Kansas State this year?
No, but I think it'll be a good game.
I think that's a loss.
I mean, I'm not sure. I got to look at Kansas State, what they have coming back, but they impressed me last year with that. The lack of talent they seem to have, but they seem to win games.
I like the composition of that Kansas State team. They lose, Deuce, who was a big time tailback and all those things, but the quarterback's back, and a lot of the other pieces around in that offense are back, and I think that's where it comes. And their toughness, man, their toughness to me is a big deal. So I do think that Memphis is probably a win, right?
I mean, that's not an easy. I mean, you got K-State, Memphis, Middle Tennessee, who beat Miami last year, and South Dakota, which I'm not sure about that D2 school. I bet they lose, maybe 2 of those games right there.
Vandy? Okay, let's give them a win, right?
I'm on the Vandy bandwagon, so I mean, you can take the win. I'll take Vandy as a
LSU's a loss, right? We don't think they're gonna be able to. Kentucky, I think is a loss. South Carolina,
yeah,
probably.
That's more of a toss-up for me. South Carolina's more of a toss-up. I like South Carolina a little bit more than you do. I like Spencer Rattler. I think he's got another year under him. I think the end of the season he started slinging the ball a little bit better. So we'll see.
Georgia, Tennessee, both losses. Florida, maybe a win. So I don't know. They could get to 5. Yeah.
And Arkansas,
I think is a loss. They could get to 6. I don't see them going to 7. I don't see.
Well,
7
1,
wins.
2, 3. I mean, I've got like 4 for sure losses and a bunch of toss-ups. So,
That's
I
my
mean,
point. Even if
Arkansas,
things go their
Tennessee,
way,
Georgia,
even if things go their way,
Kentucky,
they're gonna go.
LSU,
They're
maybe 5 for sure losses out of 12. So, I mean,
even
7 games that you have to win.
yeah. And so my
I'll take
point
the
is,
under on Missouri.
yeah,
I'm going
if things
under.
go their way, they get to 6 wins. That's my point.
Right.
South Carolina 6.5. Everybody's 6.5 in the East.
Yeah.
By the way, they were 8-5 last year. They were 40th on offense, 88th on defense. They struggled to run the football and stop the run. Those were their big problems. I think that is because they don't match up very well up front in both sides of the ball. Offensive line wise, they got some deficiencies. Defensive line wise, I think they got some deficiencies. And they lost some players to the NFL. By the way, there's some guys. Cornerback Cam Smith was a pretty highly drafted guy. Some of the defensive tackles, another cornerback. So, there's some guys out there that are gone, replacing some guys up front also. Everybody's high on Rattler, man. Everybody's like, man, Rattler finished the year so great. He's going to go and he's going to carry that forward through this year. By the way, they replaced an offensive coordinator. I'm not sold, man. I'm not sold. I looked at what Rattler did at the end of the year, and did they beat Tennessee? Yes, they did. They beat Tennessee right after Tennessee had lost their quarterback. Did they beat Clemson? Yes, they did. Clemson had no offense whatsoever at all last year. They were horrible. Okay. You know what Rattler did in those 2 games against Tennessee? One of the worst defenses in the SEC, probably. All they did was go. I think he went 6 touchdowns, some ridiculous number like that, right? He put up huge numbers against Tennessee. Clemson, he threw for like 240, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Those aren't huge numbers. Those are like A&M numbers.
Right. A&M numbers. Come on, get out of here. You're so funny.
Then he played Notre Dame. By the way, then he played Notre Dame. Did they beat Notre Dame in the bowl game?
I don't remember. Did they?
No, they did not.
I doubt. I think they got their ass kicked, didn't they?
And,
didn't Notre Dame just run the ball all over them?
Oh yeah, and he threw for like 200 yards and a couple of picks. I mean, he didn't have a good game. Right before Tennessee, by the way, he had another bad game. I can't remember who it was against. My point is, I don't believe in Rattler. I don't believe in Rattler. I think that they've got a good.
It's not
coach.
Rattler. I believe in Beamer. I like Beamer.
I agree with you.
I'll say over. I'm going over on 6.5.
All right, here's the schedule. UNC. That's your team, buddy. They're gonna beat UNC.
I don't know, but I'll take the over in that game.
Hey, Coach Brown, by the way, said he has constructed a flawless offense for May. How about that?
He did it last year. The offense was flawless for him.
They lost their offensive coordinator, so they got new people putting together that flawless offense.
Matt Brown might be the best coach in college football.
You couldn't even say that without pausing. I think they lose to UNC, all right off the bat.
All right.
Furman, let's call that a win. Georgia, that's a loss. Mississippi State, you've been giving Mississippi State a lot of credit, buddy.
I'll take Mississippi State.
All right.
I'll take. I mean, it's a toss-up game. So I mean, that game or the Carolina game, they'll win one of those 2.
Okay, so let's give them a second win, just for fun. Tennessee, loss. Florida, I'd say that's a win.
Yep.
Mizzou,
3,
that
4.
another toss-up?
Yeah, they'll beat Mizzou.
Give them the win. How about A&M?
Fuck, who knows?
That's a loss, by the way. That's a loss.
Okay. Yeah, we said that last year, too, and we lost money on that one.
Understood. Big. For sure. No question. Last year's the first time they beat us in the entire history of us being in the SEC. So let's not overdo this. It was the worst season A&M's had ever. We are 10 times more talented than South Carolina. Let's call that a loss. They're still at 4 wins. Jacksonville State, I'm going to give you that win. Okay?
All right.
Vandy. That's 6. Kentucky and Clemson, both losses. They did not go over. And
How can you say they're both losses? They beat Clemson last year.
And you gave them 2 toss-ups, by the way. You gave them 2 toss-ups.
I didn't give them 2. I gave them 1.
Well, Mississippi State.
I said you said Carolina and what's it called? I said their toss-up. Said they win 1.
Mississippi State and Mizzou. You gave them 2.
Mizzou wasn't a toss-up. Mizzou's a flat-out win.
Oh, I like that. Look, I hear what you're saying. I like Beamer, and they're going to win a game that they're not supposed to, probably somewhere in this schedule. I have a feeling they're going to lose one that they're not supposed to too, though. I'm gonna say
Who,
six
who is
six
that? Are
wins.
you talking about like Vandy? Or are you talking like who is it, Jacksonville State, Furman? Who are they not supposed to?
I think they
Florida?
lost to Vandy last year, by the way. I think South Carolina lost to Vandy last year. Just so you know.
Oh God.
But no, I'm not saying Vandy. I don't have any belief in Vandy, but I do think I don't know that they're going to beat UNC. I think they probably lose that game. To be honest with you, I don't know
Right.
that they're going to beat Mississippi State. Even though I'm sort of on the fence with Mississippi State with the new coach, right? I don't know that they're going to beat Missouri because I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do much offensively against Missouri. Not that Missouri's great. I just
Right.
to me, South Carolina. Look, if Rattler comes out and he does what people expect him to do, like this, he's going to come out and be this great player. Man, this team's going to be pretty good, and they'll definitely go over. But if he does what I think he's going to do, which is be the same mediocre player he's always been, this team's going to go under.
Okay.
Tennessee.
Well, I'm thinking the over.
How about
I'm thinking the over.
I love it. Tennessee at 9 wins, 11-2 last year, mind you. Number 1 offensively in the country. Number 36 on defense. That's an unexpected number, right? You would have thought that they would have been lower.
You just said earlier they had a terrible defense because Rattler threw for 6 touchdowns. You just said that in the numbers. Just said that. Let me rewind the tape and go.
Let me
against a terrible Tennessee defense.
Let me explain my point. The Tennessee defense, by the way, was really good against the run, horrible and not very good against the pass, and that is why they gave up all those yards to Rattler. All right, because in the air they were not good. Look, I'm not going to overstate the fact Tennessee's defense isn't as bad as it was a couple of years ago, right? I mean, they've been worse. They're not great either, right? And they deal with part of that is the fact that they deal with that offense that is blistering fast, right? And so they have to do that. Teams will have to keep up. Look, and Tennessee does what they do because of the fact that they force teams to make decisions that they don't want to make because they're going to put pressure on them, right? I love it.
Right.
They still lost their top 2 wide receivers to the draft, guys that were big-time players. They've got another stable of wide receivers, but they got to show up and do it, right?
Right, I agree.
They lost their best offensive lineman and several offensive linemen also to the NFL. So, I mean, they've got some pieces to replace. Not to say that they're not going to still be good. Most important of all those pieces may be the quarterback, Joe Milton. If he plays well all year long, they're definitely going over. Don't you think?
Absolutely. And I don't have a doubt in my mind that he'll play well because what he did with Hooker, I mean, he turned Hooker into a nobody into a freaking NFL quarterback. You know, even if he's 30 years old. I'm not sure how Hooker's pretty freaking old when he got drafted or went to the NFL. You know what I'm saying?
Let me tell you about Milton. One thing about Milton. And this is the first thing that worries me about Joe Milton. He's already lost his job once, right? But
that's talking about the Hooker?
Yes, that's not what worries me. What worries me is one of the comments he made the other day was, "Oh, I didn't lose that job. I got hurt." He's already worried about the fact what happened back then. He's worried about his legacy, his past, all the things
he's probably been asked that question 1,000 times.
Listen, all you got to say is, I've been in this offense for 2 years now. I'm ready to roll.
Yeah.
I'm excited to take the reins of this. I'm a much better quarterback than I was back then. Let's go Vols. That's it.
I hear you. Should be a fucking PR guy.
I should be. Look.
Yeah, you should be.
The defense can't generate pressure. That's another problem.
Yeah.
They don't generate any pressure in the pass game. Part of the reason, obviously the secondary gets a lot of the blame for sure, but it's partially because of the front. No pressure. These are issues that they're going to have to deal with, right? What happens if
I got to say, it's impressive that defense was 36 in the nation and that offense scored as much as they did because teams were playing from behind trying to move the ball. That's impressive. I mean, I got to say, that's really impressive.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. But they
So, I
lost
mean,
their best defensive end and they didn't generate a ton of pressure last year, right?
but I'll tell you what, last season was a stepping stone, and everybody knows Heupel's a good coach, and he's gonna get the best out of his players. He's proven that. He didn't care about everybody transferring out and this and that shit. He just put a team together, and he's starting to get his own players, like his own recruits. So I mean, he's gonna. It's only getting better there. I'll tell you that much. Tennessee is a program to watch out for in the upcoming season. I mean, this year they'll be pretty good. Next year, I think they'll just get better and better and better. They're gonna be like a Georgia before you know it. If they keep that coach, if they can keep him.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I think this team. I think this team. I think this team goes under this year. I think they get to 8 wins.
Oh, I'll take that bet. I'll go 9 to 10.
Georgia.
I mean, I'm looking at their
by the
schedule
way,
right now.
Georgia. Let me tell you the games. Georgia, Bama, Kentucky, A&M. Right there. Now you're right. They win one of those.
You know, the schedule I'm looking at, I'll take it back. They're going to be right at 9 because I don't see Georgia on my list that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I missed the Georgia on here.
That's what I'm missing is Georgia because I was looking at A&M, Bama, and Kentucky. I think they'll win one of those games. I don't know which one, but I think they might lose another one to. They're playing. They're playing. Hey, they're playing UTSA. UTSA has a top quarterback, top running back, and top wide receiver in Texas. I think.
In all of Texas. So I think my point is that hey, maybe they're a likely push. Maybe that's what could I bet the push? Can I bet the push?
That's what I was thinking 9 wins myself. That's exactly what I thought was 9. I think that's a good number.
If I were going to go under or over, I'd probably go under because I think it's more likely that they lose another one than they win another. That's
because A&M's playing at A&M travels to Tennessee. That's gonna be a tough game for A&M.
That is. Hey, look, that could be that game right there could be the over under for both teams right there.
Yeah, it really.
How about the last team in the SEC West, Vandy? Not only are they last in this list, they're last in our hearts and probably last in the SEC East. 3.5 wins.
That's the first team last year. That's the first team I think we won our over unders on was Vandy when they hit the over, the win over.
Ooh, buddy,
remember that?
This time they got to go 3.5, 3.5, and they're 5.
What were they 2.5 last year?
Yeah, 2.5, and they were 5-7 last year. They doubled up the over under.
Love it.
Look, their offense was 89th. Their defense was 125th. This is a bad team. They struggled to throw the ball. They struggled to pass the ball. They struggled against the run. There's no one thing that defense can really, put its money on at all. And I'm not sure that it's getting better. Their one thing that they did well last year was run the football with their running back, Davis, who transferred to Kentucky after getting 1,000 yards at Vandy. So people are excited about their quarterback, man. I don't see it, man. Plain and simple, I don't see it. He's not a good thrower.
I think they'll get 4 wins because they always, it seems like they win one SEC game. I don't know how. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They always seem to win one SEC game, and then they play 3 crappy teams like Hawaii, Alabama, A&M, and
Hawaii, Alabama.
Who's the other one?
How about Wake?
And
they're gonna be Wake.
Wake. I doubt it. Wake lost their quarterback, but I mean, I think Wake's going to figure out a way to score some points.
UNLV.
And that's the problem Vandy has. They'll probably lose to UNLV. Oh no, they'll beat UNLV. I'm sorry, they'll beat UNLV.
All right, so let's give them 3 right there. Do they
That's
win?
3. And then you got.
Are they going to win an SEC game? And that's your point.
Yeah, they'll win one. I don't know. I mean, it might be Auburn. It might be Florida. It might be South Carolina. It might be Ole Miss. I mean, you never know. Just they somehow win an ugly game in the SEC.
They're going to beat Georgia.
And everybody goes crazy. Everybody on ESPN, Vandy beat, so and so.
I'm kidding. They're not going to beat Georgia, but
no.
I'm going to go under. I'm actually going to. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I think they're going to go under. Last year, I was super high on them going over. Right? I mean, we bet that.
Well, 2.5. Yeah.
We bet that. No questions asked.
Right.
I think this team takes a step back this year. I think they go under. They don't win a single SEC game. And they could not win a single SEC game, still go over if they can beat Wake, right? I mean, And
Mm-hmm.
Wake's not like this super powerhouse by any means. I just, man, I don't know. I wouldn't bet individually any one of these games for them to win in the SEC.
Really? Okay.
Not any
Well,
one.
no, we of course not. No, we wouldn't do that. I just think they'll win a game in the SEC. I'm not sure who, I'm not sure how, but they will.
That could be Florida.
Yeah, it could be Florida, it could be Auburn. I mean, shit, who knows?
All right, let's go over. You convinced me.
I'm just saying. I mean, I think they have 3 wins for sure. I
And
mean, are they
three.
going to lose to Hawaii at home? Maybe.
No, they're not. And 3 chances to win. 3 chances to win number 4. All right, you convinced me. Let's go. I'll go.
All right. So let me ask you, which one do you feel the best about out of all these? Kentucky?
Um, the one that I feel the best about. Look, I feel really good about Missouri going under 6.5. I like Kentucky over 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I love Florida under 5.5. That is the guy. That's the one. If I had $1 million to put down on a bet, that'd be it.
Florida, really?
Under 5.5 for sure, 100%. Not even a question. How about you?
Huh.
What's your favorite?
I mean, the more I look at their schedule, I really that Georgia. I just don't see them losing a game on their schedule.
Whatever. We're not making that bet. All right. Questions from
I'm just saying. I just don't see them losing a game on that schedule.
questions from the tailgate.
You don't have a.
Questions from the
Go ahead.
tailgate. Brought to you by David Coffin PLC. All right, Corey. Which SEC East team is most likely to exceed the expectations substantially?
Substantially? That means go way over?
Way over.
Well, you can't take Georgia. You can't take them because they're 11.5 wins. That means what? They can't.
Can't be Georgia.
Tennessee is already at 9. Substantially, I would say, man, either Kentucky.
I think that's the only answer. I think it's Kentucky. I think Kentucky could win 9, 10 games.
Why is that the only answer? I was about to say South Carolina too.
Because South Carolina.
You just don't believe in South Carolina. I like Beamer. I like the team. I like it.
Love Beamer. I hate the talent. I hate the talent. Love Beamer. Hate the talent.
The team that can underachieve substantially?
Underachieve substantially. What do you think?
Well, Florida.
Yes.
Missouri, Florida.
I think both of those are good bets.
I mean, South Carolina could possibly. I mean, Tennessee, if what's his name doesn't play well, they could go.
I don't think South Carolina is a substantially underachieved just because of the fact, like I said, I think they are well coached. And I think that's going to limit your range. Talent-wise, I don't think they match up.
I mean, Tennessee did lose a lot of talent. They could be, their defense could be shit.
Joe Milton could come out there and start throwing picks all over the place, and all of a sudden...
Yeah, he could lay an egg. Exactly.
Oh, man, they could definitely be bad. All right. Last question here from the tailgate, and we're going to bring it back to the Aggies because we always like to talk a little Aggie football. Aggie player you are most excited about going into 2023, and that's a very, very broad statement. Most excited about it. Could be for any reason. What do you think?
Ruben Owens.
Whoa. Why is that?
No, didn't see that coming, did you?
I did not.
I think this kid's going to be a game changer. The more I'm reading and hearing about him, they're saying that this guy's built like a tank. I mean, he's fast. He can do everything. I'm just hearing good things about him. I think he's going to win over the RB1 maybe when we start going into our bigger games. I mean, I'm not talking about Miami as a big game. I'm talking like the Alabamas. He's going to have some big explosive plays, and it's going to be almost like A-Chain when he, got a few carries here and there, and he broke out. Remember the breakout games? I can't remember exactly which one it was, but he had all these big runs.
Later in the year, that freshman year, for sure. I'm going to tell you.
Owens is better built than A-Chain, just that he can take the hits. A-Chain couldn't take them when he was younger. Now, he can now.
Most excited, this is what I'm going to say. Most excited, I'd probably say if I knew that Jimbo wasn't going to do something retarded, if I knew that, I'd say Moose. I'd say Moose because, man, I'm excited about that kid. I'm so excited.
Right.
If I could see that dude in an offense like Tennessee's or like I don't know, one of these just.
We were excited about Moose last year going into the season. Then we are like, why is he on the bench the whole time?
So I would say, but I don't trust in the coaching staff yet for that.
All right.
So I'm gonna go defensively, and the guy I'm most excited about defensively, and I've said this to you before, Shamar Turner. I've got a feeling Shamar Turner is about to have it. Look, and you could put Nolan in that category. McKinley Jackson called him a unicorn, so there's a chance that dude just absolutely blows up. But I'm going to go Shamar Turner. I think Shamar Turner is going to have a monster.
I hope he does. I just don't know if he has a position on the field. Like, what position is he going to play?
I think he's going to be he's going to play a lot of defensive end early on, and he's going to move into a defensive tackle in pass rush situations. That's what I think.
So who are you putting on the bench on pass rush situation? You putting McKinley Jackson? You putting Walter Nolan? Who are you putting on the bench?
Though those guys can rotate. Yeah, but yeah. No, I'm being serious. I'm being absolutely.
I got you.
Because you do need to give them breaks, right? They always get breaks.
Yeah. Because you're bringing in Scylla. You got Diggs on the outside. I mean, who you got on the outside putting pressure on?
Absolutely.
That's the problem. I mean, it's a great question to ask because they have so much talent out there and everywhere else that
And now White's another
go
guy.
3D.
Overton's another guy on the outside. You talked about Diggs. How about Martrell Harris, who played basically some rush in for them last year as a linebacker? So they've got guys that they can bring in. Let's hope that they use them in that way, mind you, because talk about exciting. That would make me excited if they started bringing those real pass rushers off the edge and passing downs, man. Woo! Watch out.
Hey, you really want to get me excited? Let's see a 3-man defensive line out there. Woo, son, let me get excited. Let me tell you how fast I'm going to fly over to Durkin's house and beat his ass. God.
I love it.
God.
That would make me so excited.
Man, I just
that would make me excited.
What bar we'd be in.
That would make me excited because it probably means we're getting 1 year closer to firing Jimbo.
There you go. There it is. A Jimbo Fire came up today. All right, there it is. I didn't think we were going to get one, but you got it.
You didn't think we were going to get one. All right, Agnes.
Nope, we got it.
Gig 'em, baby. AP Corey signing out.